What's up, Pirates? Wraith and Jim here with Awaken TCG, and today, finally, we have some juicy OP06 content. Today, we're going to be going over the meta breakers of OP06, which means any cards that change the meta drastically or any cards that go really well into the meta and really define and have a spot in the competitive scene.
Yep, and as you can see on screen, unfortunately, again, this set, red has no cards that are making an impact once again. After the first few sets, they are really toning the dial back on red. So if you're a red lover, unfortunately, there are no cards in this video for you. And really no cards in OP06. But anyway, let's go ahead and get right into green. We have Hody Jones and Ryuma, both great cards in their respective decks. You usually aren't running these in the same deck. So let's go over them individually. First up is going to be Hody Jones, a 7/8 no counter with Fishman and New Fishman Pirates. Just going to be a 7/8 with Rush. Interesting fact, this is the first Rush card ever added to green. So finally green is with the gang. Every color now has Rush. This one's going to read, on play, rest up to a total of 2 of your opponent's characters or Dawn cards, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So just on play, you're resting 2 characters. Does not matter the cost. Does not matter anything else. There's no getting around this. You rest 2 characters, and then obviously you have to add a card from your top of your life to your hand. But actually, if you're at 0 life, this is a condition after the on play effect. So if you're at 0 life, that is completely fine. You can use this, and you will still be able to rest 2 characters. This card is an actual issue in Yamato, as Yamato can get you down to 0 very early, and then you kind of just play Hody Jones, rest any blockers they have, and then Yamato's leader effect is going to attach 2 rested Dawn to this guy and just be swinging 10 on curve. It is actually pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, just having the ability to disregard any 2 blockers your opponent has kind of makes it, when they're playing the matchup, not want to play blockers because they know something like this can always hit the field and just, strike for lethal at any moment. So this card is very scary. Pair that, like you said, with the Yamato ability, being able to attach 2 rested Dawn, so you're playing a 7/10 rush, which feels insane. And yeah, this card really closes out matches for that deck, and so I'm super excited to see the meta develop.
Definitely a certified problem. And then on the right here we have Ryuma. Ryuma is good specifically in Perona. The new green-black Perona leader is a fantastic leader. So obviously this guy, who's going to be a 4/6, which KOs a 4 or less rested on play and on KO, is going to be very, very good in a black leader. You can play this guy off of 8 cost Moria, which is we're going to talk about a bit later, but is going to be the perfect card to play off of that because you get the 6k stat line, and you also get to KO a 4 or less on play, which is just really strong. And then obviously black can extend that, say with an Ice Age, up to 9. Really, really good card. Specifically in black-green decks. I don't know if this is a problem in normal green decks. Probably not. But in Perona, who is a meta deck and has taken a couple championships.
Only other black-green deck is Isho, but
yeah,
I mean, we've ran that deck. That deck ran its course. It definitely never did anything great. But Perona being able to rest, and then go ahead and play something as good as this makes it so good. Not only that, you're getting your effect on play, and then on KO your opponent still has to play around this card. So yeah, just a great double effect. Really green card, really strong green cards. So it definitely helps Perona at least be in contention in the meta. I think Yamato because of the Hody Jones, but like other than that, there's no other green decks that are really going too crazy. But we do have some green decks in that top tier 2 contention, tier 1 potentially with Perona. But yeah, so cards like this I love to see in green.
Very, very strong for sure. Next up here we've got blue. Blue has 2 cards and arguably a bit more, but I think these are the 2 we wanted to talk about today since they are just very, very strong. First up here on the left, we've got Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. Is going to be a 7 cost event that's going to be main, place 2 characters with a cost of 6 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. And then on trigger, you have place a character with a cost of 5 or less on the bottom of the owner's deck. So just straight up better Thunderbolt on trigger. But obviously, we're talking about the on play here, which is basically just getting rid of 2 good bodies for 7 Dawn. You compare this to a 3000 Worlds, let's just say, that's 4 Dawn to get rid of a 5. This is actually less. If we were to put 2 3000 Worlds together, that's 8 Dawn to get rid of 2 5s. This is 7 Dawn to get rid of 2 6s. So definitely, I'd say one of Blue's strongest removal tools and going to be really good in mono blue decks for sure.
Yeah, I think the only thing blue is missing is that, that juicy mono blue leader, that's not archetype locked like Dofi. But yeah, no, this card is insane amount of value. You pay 7 9, you KO, or you bottom deck even better 2 6s, which is 12 worth of cost for only 7 Don. So it definitely adds up if you can use this to its full potential. But yeah, I mean, not much else to say on this card. It's just a very, very great removal tool and very cost effective.
And on the right here, we have Charlotte Pudding being added to blue. This one could be a 4/4 with 1000 counter, and the insane on play effect of your opponent returns all cards in their hand to their deck and shuffles their deck. Then your opponent draws 5 cards. So this card is really good as just a random like 2 of tech option in like pretty much every blue deck from now on. I don't know if Soccer runs this, but I think a lot of mono blue leaders, Queen, everybody's running this, and you definitely have to be cognizant from this point on in OP06 to not get too many cards in your hand, or this card is going to completely eat your lunch. If, say, you're red-green Law, you just searched out like a 5-cost Law, a Bonnie, I don't know, like a Rush Zoro. Pudding can not only reduce your hand size, she can just completely ruin your hand and reset it back to 0. This card's a big, big problem, and definitely something that is going to shake up the meta for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, you said it all. This card is insane. Any decks where you just, start getting crazy big amount of hands, Anel, Whitebeard, Uta, like there's literally so many top tier decks where you just, you love to have 10 cards in hand at any moment in the match. And then so your opponent plays this, you just, put yourself back so much resources for 4 of their Dawn, and they still got a 4K body, which isn't terrible for such a great effect. But yeah, no, this card is definitely a great help in matchups where your opponent is just going to be stacking that hand size. An amazing card.
Digging Whitebeard's grave even deeper for sure. Next up here, we've got kind of just the Germa package in general. Did not want to just put Reiju and Ichiji themselves, as they really aren't good in their own right. Reiju's good in Red Purple Law, but obviously the Reiju leader is a big meta contender coming out in OP06, and these are definitely the reasons for it. So going over Ichiji first on the left, he is going to be a on play if the number of Dawn cards on your field is less than or equal to your opponent's. You can give one of your opponent's characters minus 2k power, and then he's going to get Rush. So a 7k Rush, kind of like a mini 7-cost ace. Not great on his own, but obviously we're playing him for 4 Dawn with the Vinsmoke Ichiji 4 cost right here, which is just Dawn -1. You can trash the character, and then if your leader's Germa, you can play 1 Vinsmoke Ichiji with 7 or less cost from your trash onto the board. So basically a 4 cost 7k Rush minus 2k power. Really, really strong and amazing in the Reiju combo deck.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying 4 Dawn for a 7k Rush unit. It's like instantly gonna get you value, and your opponent's never gonna want to swing into a 7k. If you're playing this and they're going to 5 Dawn next turn, it's just a lot of pressure. Super good effect. Not only that, given minus 2000 to something, so it just helps you with board control. Yeah, I think this is gonna be one of the decks that is gonna give the meta an amazing tier 2 deck for a super good price. I think the highest pricing card in this deck is gonna be that that SR in Reiju, because it judges SR as well.
Yeah, but I do not see that being too expensive, honestly.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think this deck right here is going to be one of the decks that's going to be one of the most cost-effective decks, and you can place really, really well with it. So I'm excited for this deck. I'm definitely going to make it. So be excited, especially if you're a new player. This deck right here has that combo feel. Like when you play a deck, it feels good when you're hitting your combos. You just feel unstoppable. It's gonna be cost effective. You're gonna be able to buy this deck for very very cheap, and yeah, just have fun with with the actual good deck for once without having to pay $300. So
Finally, right?
little sidetrack there, but yeah, I think this deck is gonna be pretty nuts.
Yep, and just want to talk about Reiju real quick. Obviously, she's still going to have the 2-cost version that brings out the 4-cost version from Trash. And then obviously drawing you 2 cards plus leader effect, drawing you to 3 cards is going to be really good. But this card is also really, really good in Red Purple Law. It's got the perfect 4 stat line, and it fixes Red Purple's Law issue of having low cards in hand. This card can basically always make sure you have cards in hand with that deck and never ever run out of steam. So really good card in a couple purple decks, but specifically Reiju and Red Purple Well.
Yeah, 100%.
And next up here, we've got the big problem cards in black. Black still being the best color going into OP06, and you are looking at the reasons why. First up here on the left, it is going to be Gecko Moria. I'm sure the majority of you know what he does by now, but let's just go over his effect. It's going to be an 8-cost 9k with the 7 Warlords and Thriller Bark type. And then going to be on play, choose one character with a cost of 4 or less and one character with a cost of 2 or less from your trash. Play one of them active and then play the other rested. So basically, I mean, just do the math. This is an 8 cost that brings out a 4 and a 2. That is 14 Dawn worth of value for 8 Dawn. And that also just gives you a 9k body. Also, not taking these cards out of hand is another big thing why this card is good. We do not have to lose hand advantage. In fact, we can gain hand advantage. If you want to play a 4-cost Kuzan for the 4 and say a 2-cost brand new, not only did you just use your 14 Dawn worth of characters, you just drew 2 cards on top of it. This card is an issue, and basically every black deck under the sun is playing it.
Yeah. You see, the ban list is coming. This weekend is Worlds, right? It's gonna be a great tournament to see. I'm gonna be streaming it. It's gonna start around. I think I'm gonna start around 8:30 p.m. PST and then go until it ends on both days. It's first day it's the Swiss, second day is the finals. But this card is used in every single black OP06 deck. It is the best card in the set. Probably the best card in the game up to date in my personal opinion. Gecko Moria is just an insane card. Like you know, Jim gave you all the good details, all the juicy plays that you can do, and I think the the greatest strength is just establishing that 9k body while having like 50 benefits on top of that. But yeah, I mean this card might get hit in a ban list, so it kind of sucked not to be able to play something as broken as this, but I mean it's an amazing card.
Yep, enough about Moria. Let's talk about Perona. This one is specifically good in the new Black Moria leader. A fantastic leader, by the way, because you can play this off of leader effect. But let's go over the effect. It is actually a 4/5 with 2k counter, which usually means with a good stat line on a 2k, the effect is going to be terrible. But Perona has not that. She's going to be on play if your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand. You can either trash one card from your hand or give one of your opponent's characters a -3 to their cost. So extremely flexible on play effect, and both of them being good. The one that being probably the best is the trash a card from hand is just really annoying because you can swing 6 with lead on your, say, second turn on 3 Dawn. Play a 5k out and then make your opponent take a hit or either give you 2 cards from hand while establishing a 5k. That's also a 2k if you have it in hand. This card is ridiculous, and I'm really confused why it doesn't have a 4k stat line. I think it should at least have a 4k stat line.
Yeah, no, again, like Gecko Moria, this card is insane, and honestly, it is more broken in Gecko Moria leader, like you were saying. Being able to play this on turn 2 on 3 Dawn, just go boom, boom, and then have your opponent decide, okay, do I go like net negative and give him 2 cards, or do I just not gain a card from life and just go down to life for free because I'm gonna have to trash one anyway? Yeah, broken. And it's like it's a 2k. Like, why is it a 2k? Like, give like there's no need for this to be a 2k as well.
No,
Yeah,
this card's ridiculous.
Yeah, these 2 cards in black definitely are the reason why Gecko Moria and Sakazuki were the two best decks in '06 for the East.
And last up here, we're going to be going over yellow, another problematic color. As you can see, this is our only color with 3 cards in total. And all of these, I think, belong here. They're all problems, and they're all really good in their respective decks, so let's go over them. On the left here, we have Onami, is a 2/3 with 1,000 counter. Gonna read, on play, up to one of your leader or character cards gains banish during this turn. That is already a decent effect, especially in Yamato with double attack. But on top of that, we just decided to throw in trigger, KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. So for some reason, this card just has Thunderbolt trigger tacked onto it because it wasn't strong enough. And for some reason, this card still has a 3k stat line. It definitely should have been like a 2-1 or a 2-0, which means you can use cards like Amaru and pump this up while resting a card and then just swing at leader. Definitely a card that has a little bit too many uses, I think, and is definitely buffing the power of yellow by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, finally you can run Thunderbolt without having to run Thunderbolt. Because like so many times, you know, you're in situations where that's a break in hand. Boom, we fixed that. You get a banish for a turn on a character. You get to still have the Thunderbolt effect, and now if it's in hand, it's a 1k. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
the
gross.
It's
Really
definitely
gross.
broken.
And next up here in the middle, we have Kikunojo, is a 4/6, so beautiful vanilla stat line. And then you're going to have on KO. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you can add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. So on KO, it's just going to heal you. We have a 4/6 that just heals you when it dies. And if that's not all, it's going to read, on trigger, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you get to play this for free. No trash. You do not need to trash a card. It's just a 6k that jumps onto board for free. And then if they ever decide to kill it, you get to heal 1. So definitely a card I've seen in a lot of matches just never get touched. It's kind of just an immortal 6k that gets to swing constantly every turn because nobody wants to give you that free heal.
Yeah, and then especially in decks like Anel where you're already healing, this on top of that just makes the matchup so difficult because you really want to remove this, and the only one that is really effective at it is Sakazuki, being able to bottom deck it. But even then, that's like, you know, you're forcing them to have that answer. But yeah, this card is insane. The trigger is cracked. See, this card I can get behind because it has no counter, right? So in hand is just a brick. So it has a good on KO effect. It has a great trigger effect, but it has no counter, right? Drawbacks, you know. So they got to print more cards like this. Like there's certain cards where they just give too much. Perona. Yeah, no, I love this card. This card's gonna make yellow so good. Not the best in the set, but I mean, there's a ban list coming. Let's see if it hits the West and shakes up our meta a bit.
And last up here on the right, we have Reject. Reject is a 4-cost yellow event and going to be during main. Another card with 2 choices. First one here going to be KO one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 5 or less. So that's already a good effect. This is basically like yellow 3000 worlds. Obviously bottom decking is better, but KOing a 5 cost for 4 isn't bad. But that is not the best effect. The best effect is the second one. If your opponent has 1 life card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. And on trigger, draw 1 card. So basically, this just allows you to kind of have checkmate situations. Your opponent has, say, 2 life, you have a Big Mom on board, you swing 12. If they decide to take that hit, you can just reject, go all on leader, go for game. You only need 2 characters on board to finish out 3 swings. This is just so good. Just generally a good card. It's flexible, good trigger. Yeah, an insane card and great addition to yellow.
Yeah, 100%. Finally, you know, we get a little bit of removal. Having that option is just so good. And it's pretty cost effective. But then, yeah, the second effect, just being able to put your opponent in a position where you're forcing them to counter out a life maybe they want to take. 2 is the new one. 2 is the new one. So you kind of never want to go down to 1 life, which makes you play a little more defensive, which means their hand size gets lower a little earlier than they would like. And so in turn, that by itself is an advantage. Yeah, this card is really good and definitely a 4 of in certain yellow decks. All right, everybody, thank you guys so much for watching this video until the end. That is it for all the meta breakers of OP06. We really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like this video, comment down below what OP06 cards you think are going to be busted, and let us know what decks you're going to play. I'm interested. I know there's a ban list coming, but we have to wait on that. And so even me, I'm kind of, on the fence about what deck I'm going to play, but Prona is up there on my list. Anyway, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.